Okay, so you guys are absolutely wild. I did not expect one of my first series videos to have blown up in the last 2 weeks after sitting for several months. Anyway, the reason I want to make this one is in the explosion of views and comments, which I have not been able to get to all of recently. I'm trying to hit a batch every day now, but that's not what I'm used to doing. So, I want to make this a quick, frequently asked questions bit for you, while also addressing a serious concern or two I noticed in that 15% body fat video. The primary thing I noticed that the comments brought up, and then I realized I completely forgot, was to include how I actually assessed my body fat percentage. So I will be making a more in-depth video after this. I want it to be out within a week of this video that will both detail the site that I used, how I took the measurements, so actual footage for how I do the measurements so it can be reproduced well by others, but also in-depth videos of how I do all the other measurements I use that aren't relevant to the body fat percentage that I use just as points of judgment in the video, so others can kind of assess how similar their various stats are to mine. So for instance, people were asking were the measurements flexed or unflexed, and for the bicep, the common way I found on the internet they do it is flexed, but it's not like that for every muscle from what I've gathered. So I want to go in detail on how I did all the measurements, but the really big important part was showing and demonstrating that glaring flaw of how I determined I was at 15, or at least 15-ish%, might have been as high as 17. So I want to make that for you. I'll tell you the site now. It is called weighttrainer.net. However, it's no longer active, so I have to use the Wayback Machine, or any other internet archive site would work as well. It's like the anthropomorphic calculator or something. It's the calculator where you use a tape measure to measure stuff and you input stuff. It's calculations were made, I think, by a guy called Casey Butt or something like that he derived from actual muscular athletes and bodybuilders and such. So I found it does an excellent job for trained physiques of determining a fairly reasonable body fat percentage. So that is what I use in the video. I will be detailing that further for you guys. But as for some other either common questions and comments I got, or some that seemed very significant, one of them was almost like a disagreement on whether or not it was appropriate for me to label myself as intermediate. And that just brings up this whole debate. There's plenty, especially in the kind of natural bodybuilding renaissance community, that don't even like the term of novice, beginner, intermediate, advanced, etc. I'm kind of not a fan of those either, because a lot of those terms stem heavily from places such as powerlifting that have strength focused numbers such as a 225 bench, for example, and now you're intermediate and such, when a lot of people want to train for physique goals when what their bench is irrelevant for their level of progress. So some people were saying that it was more suitable for me to call myself advanced. Others seem to accept me calling myself intermediate. My argument for why I called myself intermediate is, one, because I knew if I called myself advanced, people would say, your numbers aren't advanced, why are you calling yourself advanced? And two, because I have such high expectations and hopes for the community on what we can achieve, that to consider myself advanced, I feel would be selling all of us short. So that's the short version of why I chose to claim intermediate. I consider intermediate a very broad area. That's a spectrum, a very wide spectrum that is in between. That is intermediate between a novice lifter and an advanced lifter. So as time goes on, you become less novice and more intermediate, and then less intermediate and more advanced. And at some fuzzy point, you are no longer intermediate. But that's, if we're not doing strength numbers, it's kind of hard to tell, which is another would likely be a very long video I want to make on opening up the discussion about how we want to judge that without strength, but it's not the point. of this. So what were some other important or common questions? Oh, yeah. For as of stats such as like body weight or height or other things, those were all in the video you commented on. But the low-hanging ones are 6 foot tall at the time of the video, 198 pounds. Can't remember what I claimed the waist was. I think I claimed arms, which would be flex, upper arm, 16 and a quarter. What did I claim? Like upper legs, maybe 25 and 3/4 or something like that. That's what they are now. I don't know if they were if I claimed any different in the video. Calves might have been 15. Neck might have been around that too. So that's just what I can remember offhand. Some of those are different now. Oh yeah, for everyone appreciating seeing a video like this, for trying to give a more realistic expectation, I appreciate the feedback. I'm glad I went with my gut in making this video for you, but I don't want this to be the only one. I'm not saying I don't want this to be the only one I make. There's some limited value to the community if I make another one at like maybe 12% body fat and another one 18% body fat, but at the end of the day, that's just more reference points of a single individual. One of the big reasons I made this video and want to make the follow-up video detailing how I determined my body fat percentage and how I did the measurements and how I want to structure this is to encourage other people, other lifters of different ages, training backgrounds, experiences, goals, and all those other variables to make other videos like this one, so we can have a wide catalog in the community of just simple, accurate portrayals of what different goals and times under training and circumstances can look like that aren't all prettied up by influencers. So that was probably the primary motivation for making this one. So if all that happens with that video is it just suddenly skyrockets like it has in the last 2 weeks, gets really big and viral, and then that's the extent of it. It gets me some views and subscribers, but it doesn't inspire anyone else to either make more videos of that kind or inspire more people to understand what a moderately lean physique can look like and what they can achieve. It doesn't inspire people to either get more jacked or to make more videos to help encourage other people to get more jacked. It was a failure. So that's why I want to make the detailed video showing you and others how to make more like that, so that way we can all, whatever level you're at, even if it's your first year of training, to show people what a full year of fresh training can make you look like. So that way someone else can see that and be like, hey, I stopped training 3 months in because it was tough, but here's this guy showing a video of just what he accomplished in his first year. Maybe I should try again. Maybe I should get back into it and not quit after 3 months because life is tough forming a new habit. So that is what would make the video a true success, is if you made one too. Oh, comments about like my back and traps and such. Leading up to and during this video, I had been running Alex Leonidas's Naturally Enhanced program, which I think had been the video before this that I had done a partial review on, because I'd only run it for 5 months. Calling it a full review felt odd. So that is a large reason for the back. It's also been a priority for a good minute, even before I was running his program. But the program puts a lot of emphasis on upper back, and in particular upper traps. Oh yeah, I had a couple tall lifters that are my height or taller comment. And the thing is, if you're a tall lifter, it takes a lot longer for you to fill out. So I don't have any magical proportions that make me look better. Food and time are your friends. You have a bigger frame to fill out. When it fills out, it will look amazing. It'll appear to take longer. So don't let that disparage you. And people talking about how they got to low body fat percentage and didn't have much of abs. One, assessing body fat can be a pain. That's why I eventually stumbled on this calculator I like. So I always take people's estimates with a grain of salt. But even assuming you are correct, I've recently been learning the power of direct ab training. I wasn't doing a crazy amount leading up to this video, but since then I've been doing more, and it makes a difference. Being able to just, your ab muscles are a skeletal muscle just like all the other skeletal muscles on your frame. So just like your biceps, your quads, like all of those are all the same basic type of muscle tissue that can be hypertrophied through resistance training. So if you want them to be able to show more, even at higher body fat percentages, 15, 16, 17, you need to directly train them through progressive resistance training. Nothing special there. Most definitely others worth replying to, but I don't want this to take forever. I want to get this out quick because I actually should be in bed in an hour. It's 10:55 a.m. But my schedule is whack and I should be asleep in an hour, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Thanks, everyone.